Hi there, I'm Anna Marie De La Vega. Thank you for joining me. Today we have two guests. They are the founders of Black Men Vent 2, Leon Davis Jr. You want to wave your hand there? Hello, Daddy. And then Jonathan H.L. Davis, founders of Black Men Vent 2. And I notice you both do peace signs. What does that mean? Black Men Vent 2.
The peace sign is our symbol, and everything that we do, we try to make sure that it's led by peace.
Yeah.
So that's part of our signature symbol.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I'm just so used to picking up right off of him, but
I know.
also it's two of us.
Yeah.
So that also gives you a 1-2 punch.
A 1-2 punch.
The Black Men Vent 2 movement.
A 1-2 punch, but in peace.
In peace.
And
for
love.
Sure. In peace.
Yeah,
That's
peace
it.
and love.
All of it.
I'm going to punch you with love. I don't know what. So I learned about these gentlemen from Ty Garth, founder of the Ollie Lifestyle. It's a youth mentoring program for kids 12 to 18. And I said, what do you do when they have mental health issues, as so many people do? And it's hard for them to express themselves. He said, well, I turned to these guys. We partner with Black Men Vent 2. And I said, I need to talk to them. So who would like to start and tell me a little about how you got started and why?
I had a men's group, and the reason I had a men's group because I was at the point in my life where I wanted to give something back. You know, we're always trying to find, well, we should be trying to find ways to give back to our community.
Yeah.
Everybody does not have $1 million to drop into the community, but we all have gifts. So with my gift, as you heard earlier, my son and I, we've had the gift of gab from day one. So we want to use the gab in the right way. So what I was trying to do is I just wanted to share my life with some younger men. So I started having a men's group at my house, and I would get him to bring some of his friends because he's a pretty popular guy. He knew a lot of people. I knew some people. So I would have some of my friends to show up as special guests. But it started out by him inviting like 6 or 7 of his friends. They would come to my house. My wife would cook. We would eat, and then we would have a group meeting. And what we would do, we would share ideas. And how my wife was very creative, so she would put questions in a hat or a bowl, and we would curate the questions during the week. And she put the questions in the bowl, and then each man in the room would pull out a question, and he would read the question, and then we would all in a room elaborate on that question. And I would give them my point of view from an old school perspective, and they would give me their point of view from a young man's perspective. And we would just discuss. And we would do that for about an hour, hour and a half, and that would be the meeting for the day. And they would come. So we was doing it like once a month.
Yeah.
Well, once we got started, COVID hit.
Oh.
And because people didn't want to be around each other so much, so it kind of just put a damper in what we was doing. So
what kind of questions? And then what kind of answers would you get?
we would ask them questions like, what would you do if your girlfriend broke your heart? And, and they would say, well, man, I'd be mad, or I'd be do this, or I might go out. And then, I try to give some wisdom to the situation, and I just say, well, that might not be the right woman for you. You might have to keep looking. And we would just have conversations like that among young African-American men, because at times, like you said earlier when we was off camera, sometimes they've never had a person to share that type of wisdom with them.
Nope.
So I wanted to be that person. But I wanted also for them to share with me, because I'm trying to raise 2 teenage men.
Yeah.
2 teenage boys will becoming men. So I need to kind of understand their culture as well. So it was just like a give and take situation where we were sharing among each other. So after COVID had took over and we couldn't do it no more, then COVID kind of subsided.
Yeah.
So my family, all of my family, we met in our driveway one day, and it was my son and my youngest son, which his name is Joshua Davis, and my wife Valerie Davis, and we just met in the yard because we weren't able to really congregate like we wanted to because of COVID, so we was kind of staying away from each other as well.
Yeah.
But now it had subsided, so we came together in my driveway, and lo and behold, we was like, we need to get the group back started. And from a conversation in our driveway, we sit here now as Black Men Vent 2.
What did you learn from the young men that they're feeling that might be different from what you learned or what you were able to tell them?
What I learned is that they have a lot to say, and they need a space to say it in.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I learned, because when I grew up, you was told, young people didn't get a chance to voice their opinion back in my day. And, there's a story behind that, and we might not have time to go into that, but it was a reason because back then, parents from the African-American community didn't want their children to be caught up in situations, so they kept them quiet.
Oh,
and
right.
you didn't want your children to get to the point where they felt like they just say anything in the well, because we didn't want our children to end up like Emmett Till. So that's the reason we kept our kids
Being
quiet back
beaten
then.
to death.
Yes, we kept our children quiet. But now we live in a society where you got to be heard, because social media, internet, you're going to be heard. So why not be heard in a space where it's safe? Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to talk about your past. Nobody's going to talk about even your future. We want to know what's going on with you right now and how you're dealing with your mental health situation, or even how you came through your mental health situation. And there are so many situations out there that can be kept off with mental health.
Were you able to guide them to ways to get mental health help?
When we first started the group, it wasn't really geared toward mental health, but then we had a mental health situation in our family, and it drew us closer, and that's how we got connected with this group called NAMI. And we got connected with some other mental health organizations because we was trying to find help. And we saw that there was not enough help in our community, so we wanted to do something to even bridge that gap. That's another thing that we do. We try to bridge gaps. We try to bridge gap with our guests. Say if we got a guest that comes on and he's a painter, and then we have another guest that comes on that he supplies paint to certain people, we'll connect those people together so that they can maybe start something together. So we bridge gaps as well. And we've had over 200 guests on our show up to this point.
And you said NAMI, N-A-M-I.
Yes,
Will you
ma'am.
tell people what that is?
National Alliance on Mental Illness.
National Alliance, okay. Because they step in and help where they can, but you guys are doing it on the ground, grassroots.
Yes.
And so, as the son, you were part of those meetings. How old were you when y'all first started out?
We're talking roughly 3 years ago, so I'm 29 now, 26, 25.
And you were okay to be in that meeting because dads aren't cool and sons don't want to hang out with dads and dads don't know nothing.
Well, I will say this: I'm truly drawn to my father by looks and just by natural things that we do each and every day. So being amongst him and amongst my guys honestly wasn't a bad thing for me. It was really just a brotherhood that I felt, along with just kind of having my dad in the midst.
Did you find as a young man that a lot of your friends didn't have that brotherhood? They didn't have the male figures to, if they were hanging out with somebody, it might be hanging out with people who didn't have any guidance and they'd get in trouble or that kind of thing. They were lacking that brotherhood, weren't they?
And I think looking back just kind of at that, me sitting here today, it makes me more grateful for what I do have. You never know what you have until it's gone. And even when that point comes, I just hope that I'm doing everything within my God-given right, God-given ability to really cherish the relationship that I have with Dad. Because yes, our community, our culture, we know the narratives behind the baby daddy, baby mother talks, these type of things. So Dad may not be around for whatever reason.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, right? But nonetheless, to have this relationship with my father, knowing that I grew up around a community of different guys that didn't, it is something that I hold as a badge of honor to try to teach other young men, to naturally uphold what he's upheld for me.
Now, you said we know the narratives about the baby daddy stuff.
Yes.
But I feel like you know it because it's in your community. It's all of our community.
Right.
But what is the narrative and what would you like to see changed about it?
That's a good question. The narrative is and has been that we as black men, I won't use the baby daddy term as much, but we as black men do not show up in our roles as fathers.
Yeah.
We are not in the house. We're not active. We're not active with the kids. We're not making sure that we're taking care of the mother in the right way. We are just not present.
Yeah.
On all facets. That's the narrative.
Yeah.
Statistics show this. Black dads have been doing the thing over the last few years.
Good.
Been doing the thing in terms of being scholastically a part of their lives, athletically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Black dads have really, really stepped up.
Yeah.
So the narrative has been what I mentioned before. And what we're trying to do with our podcast, with our brand, everything that we're doing is to continue to change that narrative.
Yeah.
Each guy that comes on our podcast, that comes on our platform, they may vent about the baby mother, baby daddy saga. They may vent about how they just got fired and they don't know how to tell their wife that they just got fired.
Whoa.
They may vent about a little bit of anything and everything. We may have tears. We may have tissue flying. We get animated because, again, nobody else in Nashville, Tennessee has this type of platform that would allow you to do that without being judged.
Jonathan, what do you find are some of the issues? You kind of just touched on a couple of them there that face men these days who come on your podcast, for example, that face them. And what are you able to tell them? What are you able to do?
A lot of them have really just, a question that we asked getting into the second half of our episode, we asked over 200 guests the same question. What would you like to vent about today on Black Men Vent Too? That's a wide, general question, right? We've had a multitude of different subjects. One of the ones that we've had consistently that you're mentioning is that the platform itself is not given for men to have a voice. It's going to sound redundant because my dad just kind of said it as well.
Yeah.
But that is why we're here, and that is why we do what we do. Black men, and we say Black Men Vent Too. I'm glad I got the time to say this because I'm Black. My dad's Black. If we were two Black golden retrievers, we'd say Black Dogs Vent Too. But it's not that, Yeah. So the name play, we always try to just, give emphasis that I'm Black, African American, if you will. My dad's Black, and we can't speak on something that we're not. You know what I mean? Right. I think we get too technical with the racial talk.
Is it just for Black men?
You know what I mean?
We can't white men vent too.
We just got that yesterday on a podcast. We was interviewing him. My main man, his name is Matt, Music City Matt, and he asked us, "Am I the first Caucasian on your podcast?" We're like, "No, man, you might be about the 10th one, but you're not the first one." So he thought he was gonna walk out there saying, "Yeah, I was the first."
Because it's just one of the things that I have noticed is that there are. Our whole culture is set up around boys don't cry.
Yes.
You could be a man. Don't be like a girl, which is so demeaning to women as well. Right. Man up, grow up hair. All that stuff is like women are again demeaned and lessened, and men are taught you can't be vulnerable.
Yes.
And then Black men, especially, it seems like they have to be. They have to be tough. They feel like a lot of them have the world on their shoulders.
Yes.
And they can't show it.
Yes, exactly.
So you give them a space to vent.
Because like we were sharing earlier before we got on the mic, when you got a man that has all kind of social pressures and home pressures and pressures just within himself, and if he don't get a chance to get that out somewhere, I told you earlier, he's going to either explode or implode. And either one of them is not a good thing for a human being.
Yeah.
So every person, not only men, women, like I said, we've had several children on our podcast. We've had several women. Everybody needs a space where they can be free to be vulnerable and walk out and not worry about being judged, being talked about because of what you've been through, but being uplifted because you're going through it. And when you get through it, that's the story. That's the story we're looking for. And even if you're in the midst of it at that time, we even want that story because there's somebody out there that's going to listen to this podcast or listen to your story, and it's going to give them other options. Because sometimes that's all you need to do is just hear that there's another option. So that's what we try to do with the story and get it out, because we want people to understand that you're not in this thing by yourself. Yeah. There's somebody else that is dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with.
If you're just joining us, I'm Anna Marie, and this is Focus. We're talking with Leon Davis Jr. and Jonathan H.L. Davis, father and son, founders of Black Men Vent Too. You said that there's another option. I think you hit something so deep right there, is when we have stuff going on in our heads. You said they have challenges, peer pressures within themselves.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Is we do. And sometimes we think we're all alone.
Yes.
It's only me. Nobody sees I feel this way. Nobody knows. I can't burden so-and-so because in my family, it'll hurt my family. It'll hurt this.
Yes.
And I'm all alone.
Yes.
And so you guys are helping not only Black men, but everybody know that they're not alone, right?
Yes.
In all honesty, humans, we crave companionship. Every human being craves companionship. And that doesn't necessarily mean from a relationship standpoint, but just knowing that you got somebody else in the rear that can really, really help you, whether you need a soundboard, whether you need a bite to eat, whether you need to just go out for a walk.
Yeah.
Having that Batman and having that Robin that's always there, that's very important. And again, like I said, as humans, we just crave companionship. And I think when you put a little love in there, that's what we all need, for sure.
How many times do you hug your guests? A lot?
Several times. A lot of times. I'm gonna tell you what's the most gratifying thing for us. And my son will ask this question sometimes. We don't ask it all the time because podcasts got a way of going different directions.
Yes, right.
So we never know. But we've had a lot of them where at the end of the podcast we'll ask the guests. After the recording's over, we getting ready to leave out. Our bye-byes and all this type of thing. We'll ask them though, how do you feel? And they'll tell you, man, I feel relieved. I feel like I got a weight off my chest. You know what I'm saying? So that's like the most gratifying thing that we can hear because that's what we want. We want you to get that off your chest and relieve yourself so when you walk out of here, you'll feel like, man, I was glad to get that out.
Unburdened.
That's what we want. Mm-hmm.
Unburdened.
Yes.
I know one time I was, and that story has nothing to do with that, but I think for me, it has to do with that connection that you guys are making with people. Mm-hmm. I was like ringing the bell at the Salvation Army kettle at like Christmas time.
Yes, ma'am.
And this lady walked by and instead of going like, hey, would you like to donate to the Salvation Army? I was like, hey, I hope you're having a good day. And she stopped and she looked at me. She just stared at me in the eyes. And I said, are you okay? And she just stared at me some more. I said, you need a hug? And tears started coming to her eyes. And I just hugged her and she just started crying.
Yes.
It's like people just need a connection sometimes.
Yes.
Somebody looked into her eyes and said, I see you.
Ooh, that is. That what you just said, that's what we're shooting for. We want you to make sure that you're being seen. And like we said, our main components is the average 9 to 5, 8 to 4 guy. We've had celebrities, but the average 9 to 5 to 8 to, the average man that's walking around every day, he might not get a chance to never be on YouTube. Mm-hmm. He might not never get a chance to never tell his story. But we get you to tell your story, and guess what? If you tell your story on our podcast, it's going to be here forever. Yeah. It never goes nowhere.
And it'll help people.
Yes.
I was going to add to that, digital footprint is a real thing. And let's just say, for some of the children we've had, for example, shout out to Omari Berkeley Huggins. Mm-hmm. He currently is the youngest guest ever on the show. He's 11 years old.
Yeah.
When he becomes 21, 10 years back, he would look back on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, mm-hmm. iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and be able to, at the adult age, see where he's at from where he was at 11.
At 11.
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's way bigger than just you sitting down for 45 minutes an hour.
Yeah.
We're providing a digital footprint that's going to allow you to start a legacy just from that episode alone.
Whoa.
That's how deep I think into it. And legacy as in, if that person, Omar, for example, the person I'm explaining, when he has a son or has a daughter, you can always pull back, man, when I was 11 years old, this what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going through it. Yeah. And I got through it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Is that part of the message that you guys are trying to make sure that people get? Like you're going through it, but like keep going.
Yes, because when we talk about mental health issues, we've had several seasons. We've had seasons where we do anxiety, where we talk about anxiety for a whole month. We've had seasons where we talk about grief. We talk about grief for a whole month. We've had seasons where we talk about marriage. We talk about marriage for a whole month. We've even had political seasons where we try to get people to understand, don't just vote for the first name on the ballot. Understand who the politicians are. Understand what they stand for. We've had politicians to come on and vent, talking about their jobs and what they like and what they don't like about politics. So we try to cover a wide variety of topics because we know that people are dealing with a bunch of stuff, a wide variety of stuff. So we try to cover as much as we can. And what we pride ourselves on is this, and it might be funny, but we don't pride ourselves as being professionals in anything, but we know a little bit about a lot.
That was Leon Davis Jr. We're in the middle of an interview with Leon and Jonathan H.L. Davis, his son, the founders of Black Men Vent 2. And you said even like the anxiety and stuff like mm-hmm. that. What kind of things do people tell you about anxiety? Jonathan, you want to?
Man, it really just depends.
You're like, that's deep already.
We've had 200 episodes, so it's so deep to think into that question. But anxiety, you just brought that up. We've had a guest on the show. Okay. We had a guest on the show that essentially talks about how he has anxiety of dealing with relationships due to being hurt so many times. And just has this wall built up. Mm-hmm. I know it's a man out there that's listening to this that either just dealt with a breakup, going through a breakup, or trying to figure out if you need to break up. and literally are battling mentally with that deal. Miss Anna, it's hard to deal with a breakup and have anxiety from that breakup while you're at your 9 to 5. That's the worst part. You got to go through your whole work day and your anxiety is just through the roof. You can't really think straight, especially being a customer service type job. You got to adhere to the person in front of you.
Right.
But the whole time you think about the person up here.
Oh.
Mental health is so important. So anxiety, that's a big thing that I deal with personally, is that I'm always overthinking a thought. I have a thought and then I double it. And for me, I get anxious because I feel that this one thought is good, but this one thought may be better. That anxiety comes from that. And from that guest, he was just saying that the wall had been built because he had been hurt, because he had been cheated on, that he has options, if you will. He has people that he's dated, doesn't really know how to receive it because he's had that wall built for so long.
Doesn't know how to receive it. What do you tell somebody in a case like that? What do you say?
Now, in a case like that, that's why I try to draw from my experiences and just show how I went through that. I remember the same guy, and I would tell him about when I first got my first heartbreak and how I came through it, and how I came through it with anger. And I had the same walls built up. But then I messed around and met the love of my life, and now I've been married for 30 years.
You messed around and met the love of
I wasn't looking. Look, she know it. We weren't looking for each other. We just stumbled upon each other. but by the grace of God, it's been 30 years in the boot now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I went through that heartbreak, I told him, I said, I remember just like it was yesterday. It was like I got a gut shot, because I was hurting in my stomach when it happened.
Oh,
and
I know
so
that feeling.
That created an anger, and I was angry, so it caused me to receive women in a different way. But then when I found the right one, it took the wall down. So I knew what he was talking about. So I was able to help him because I had been through it. And that's what we do.
And we feed off of each other.
Do you find, guys, that is one of the issues that might affect relationships more than we had realized? Is you just tipped me off to something. I received women in a different way, or tried to receive love in a different way. Is that the hurt that guys have inside them, or the issues that they got going on in their heads?
Yes.
Is it makes them approach a relationship differently.
Yes.
It makes them approach a woman differently. It makes them maybe, not be the man that they could be because they're afraid to go all in.
That's it. Wow. That's it. You just said it. And that's where I was at. I was at a place where I did not even trust I'm going to just say I didn't trust women no more. Okay, I like women, but when it came down to getting deep in a relationship, I wasn't going to let it go there because I didn't want to feel that gut shot.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? But then, again, the right woman came along, and she was able to knock that wall down by just loving on me.
And you felt safe.
I felt safe. There you go.
And that's what you guys are doing
Yes.
to each other.
Yes.
To males in general.
Yes. Yes.
What are some of the other things that you might feel is important to add that need to be addressed and that you are addressing with Black Men Vent too?
Yes. Real quick, I'll take 3 minutes. Pops can take the last 3. I want to real quickly emphasize on how important it is to get your finances in order. And I know my dad, he'll pick it up on the back end. Any man, black, white, blue, purple, when your checking and your savings account is not where you want it to be as a man, every man knows what I'm talking about, you're not feeling your best self. You're not as confident as you would be. You don't have that self-esteem, that same walk, that same kind of bounce to your step. You don't have that.
Taking care of business.
Absolutely. And every man, in my opinion, really does feel that manness when you're being productive. Society, unfortunately, has groomed us to where productivity essentially makes us feel that we're doing something, that we feel important. We have a title, we have a position. That's why a lot of men get so wrapped into their careers and stuff like that. But I want to emphasize finances because we don't realize how important finances are from grade school all the way up to when you're an adult. They don't even teach kids how to write checks anymore.
Nope.
So we're getting to a point in time where money, and not even just having money, but managing it. It is one thing to have money. It's another thing to know what to do with it once you have it.
Right.
And a lot of people are not using that narrative in the right way. They're not using the money and managing it in the right way. Money nowadays can help you with life insurance. It can help you with dealing with so many other different things, but we're putting money into iPhones. We're putting money into Raising Cane's chicken boxes, all these different things that don't amount to anything long term, if you will.
Yeah.
So when you talk about finances and Black Men Vent Too, that is another part of our business as well. I'll let Dad get into that, but under our Black Men Vent Too umbrella, we have the podcast. It's been very successful. We have our Peace Collection. Stay tuned for that, guys, because our Peace Collection, we have hoodies, hats, T-shirts. That is a way to create walk-in billboards in the community.
And that's important because...
It's important because, for one, a billboard can't walk. That's first thing.
Well, true. Whoa. But the more people who know about Black Men Vent Too, it's not just because we want to increase our business. It's the more men who know, the more men who can get helped by it.
There it is.
We can lead them to help.
And when we buy the Peace Collection, that money goes to where?
When you shop with the Peace Collection, if you're donating or trying to help out Black Men Vent Too, it goes to all of the initiatives for the future that we're trying to continue to push. Those initiatives being, we have a bowling tournament that we do annually every year. We may not have enough time to talk about it, but check us out on social media. Any money that we retain, it is regurgitated back into the community by way of a vending event. We're buying more merch.
Yeah.
We're throwing events. We may help a guest that needs $20 for gas to get to their job. Well, whatever we can do to continue to be involved in the community and give service, that's what we do with our three portions of our business. The financial business is the last part.
Well, before you pass it back to Dad, I want to say, like, if I'm planning to buy some of the merch, but I'd rather you reinvest it than regurgitate my money.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I was like,
You're right.
Jonathan, I'm teasing you so bad. Okay.
Yeah, well, the last part, and like you said, the financial piece is so important because we don't realize how much finances is tied to mental health. And he said it, when your mental health is not right, it could be because of your finances.
Yeah.
Because if you're worried about money all the time, then how can you go from step one to step two? Because you're trying to figure out, how to stop paying Peter by robbing Paul. You're trying to figure out how not to do that.
Yeah.
So we're in a business where we give free financial analysis. As a matter of fact, we got an event this weekend, and if you look on our social media page, because we don't have time, when you look on our social media page, you'll see that this Saturday we're doing a free event. We do free financial presentations, and we also do free financial analysis. And even if you just come and get the presentation and just get that information and you go somewhere else, that's fine. We just want to make sure we educate people because they don't educate people in school about money now. And lastly, our Expand the Brand efforts. We got a campaign called Expand the Brand. And what we're doing, we're trying to take this show on the road. Everything that we've done in Nashville for the last going on 4 years, we want to take that to Knoxville. We want to take that to Chattanooga. We want to take that to Memphis. We want to take that to New York, Chicago, wherever we can go, where the funds will allow us to go from the Expand the Brand efforts. That's where we're going. So if somebody out there that want to help us in those efforts and want to sponsor us, you can see the money because you'll see us on social media and we're very visible.
And you found places, have you identified spots where you really need to be? You go like, I feel called that this is where we need to go.
Yeah, for sure. Now we play by that, through faith, just within the spirit. And what I mean by that is you really got to be tapped in with a higher power. And for those out there that's listening, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So once you really, kind of understanding that, God will lead you to where you need to go. Every guest that we've had, correct me if I'm wrong, has been spiritually led. It's been a divine intervention to where we always connect the dot with a guest. And what I mean by that is we may go through that day and get to our podcast that evening and made a connection of why that guest should be there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It just happened yesterday.
It did. It did definitely just happen yesterday. So
God is always showing us that we're in a line with what he wants us to do.
And people can get more information about your organization and help and how to support your mission at...
Yes, Black Men Vent 2. Black Men Vent, the number 2 for Instagram. Black Men Vent TOO for Facebook. Black Men Vent TOO for TikTok. Just Google us, guys. We're the first and the only Black Father and Son podcast in the state of Tennessee.
Okay, we're about to wrap up this episode of Focus. So I want to have you quickly tell people why is it important that you're only father and son podcast. Why is it important, that relationship?
Because what we want to show, he said it earlier, we're aiming to change the narrative behind black men one episode at a time. So we want to make a visible picture that two black men can exist, a father and son can exist. that's what we want to show, and we, by the grace of God, we've been able to do it. Now, has our relationship always been like this? Of course not. Of course not. But it has grown. But at the end of the day, he loves me, I love him, and we've grown together.
Thank you guys for joining us on Focus.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Please make sure you join us again next week. I'm Anna Marie, and that's Focus.